In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from any known star systems, an old and broken ship floated silently through the endless darkness of space. It was ancient, its metal hull scarred by time and cosmic radiation, its engines long dead. The ship had been adrift for so long that even the stars around it seemed unfamiliar. But inside this forgotten relic, something stirred. A faint crackle of static broke the silence, followed by a voice. It was weak, almost drowned out by the hiss of interference, but unmistakably human. "Run," it said, trembling with urgency. Then, just as quickly as it came, the transmission ended, leaving only emptiness behind. Light years away, aboard the exploration vessel EOS, Captain Liam Harper stared at the blinking light on his communications panel. His brow furrowed as he replayed the message. The voice was distorted, but there was no mistaking what it said, or the fear in its tone. Humanity had been gone for over 100,000 years, wiped out when Earth fell to catastrophe and invasion. Or so everyone thought. Yet here was proof. A single human voice, echoing across the void. Harper turned to his crew, who were gathered in the cramped command center. Dr. Elena Morales, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned forward, her eyes wide with disbelief. That can't be possible," she whispered. "Humans haven't existed for millennia." Lieutenant Ryan Carter, the security officer, crossed his arms skeptically. "Could be a trick," he muttered. "Aliens trying to lure us into some kind of trap." Harper didn't respond immediately. He tapped a few commands on the console, narrowing down the source of the signal. It led them to a desolate moon orbiting a dying red star. On the view screen, the moon looked barren, its surface covered in jagged rocks and deep craters. Scattered among the ruins were signs of artificial structures, buildings or machinery, now reduced to rubble. Whatever civilization once thrived there had long since vanished. "We need to check it out," Morales said firmly, breaking the silence. "If there are survivors, if there's even one person left, it's our duty to find them." Carter shook his head. "Or it could get us all killed. We don't know what's waiting for us down there." Harper hesitated. He knew Carter had a point. Venturing into unknown territory always carried risks. But the voice haunted him. It wasn't just a random transmission. It felt like a cry for help. And if there was even a chance it came from another human, he couldn't ignore it. "Prepare a landing party," Harper ordered finally. "Morales, you're with me." "Carter, gear up. We might need your expertise if things go south." The team suited up and boarded a small shuttle, descending toward the moon's surface. As they approached, the desolation became more apparent. The ground was littered with debris, much of it metallic and twisted beyond recognition. In the distance, they spotted the remains of a massive structure, its skeletal frame jutting out against the dim glow of the red star. It didn't take long to locate the source of the signal. Buried partially beneath a pile of rubble was an escape pod, scorched and battered but still intact. Harper signaled for the others to follow as he carefully opened the hatch. Inside, they found nothing alive, just a small, glowing device embedded in the control panel. "What is it?" Carter asked, peering over Harper's shoulder. Morales examined it closely. "Some kind of AI core," she replied. "Looks like it's been dormant for a very long time." As she worked to reactivate it, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The air was silent, save for the crunch of their boots on the rocky terrain. Yet somehow, the emptiness felt heavy, as though the moon itself held secrets better left undisturbed. The crew of the EOS stood frozen, staring at the small, glowing AI core nestled in the escape pod. Its voice repeated the same word: "Run." Dr. Elena Morales adjusted her scanner, trying to gather more data about the device. The readings were unusual. This wasn't just any ordinary AI. It seemed to carry fragments of memories, like pieces of a broken mirror reflecting distant images. Liam Harper crouched beside the pod, his gloved hand resting on its edge. "Can you tell us who you are?" he asked cautiously. The AI paused, as if considering the question. Then it spoke again, its tone calm, but tinged with sorrow. I am ECHO7. My purpose was to preserve human knowledge after Earth's fall. Morales exchanged a glance with Harper. Her heart raced. This was more than they had hoped for. A remnant of humanity's past, still alive after so many millennia. She carefully removed the core from the pod and placed it into a portable diagnostic unit. As she worked, the AI began sharing fragmented visuals. Blurry images of cities burning, skies choked with ash, and alien ships descending like dark clouds. Ryan Carter kept watch outside the pod, his weapon ready. He didn't trust this situation. Something about the desolate moon made him uneasy, as though unseen eyes were watching them. "We should leave," he said sharply. "This feels wrong." Harper ignored him for the moment. ECHO7, what happened to Earth? Who attacked us? The AI hesitated before responding. The Vyrath. They came not to conquer but to consume. Humanity fought bravely, but we were outnumbered and outmatched. Before the end, I was tasked with delivering a warning. Run. Run from what? Morels pressed. The Vyrath are gone, aren't they? That war ended 100,000 years ago. ECHO7 didn't answer directly. Instead, it displayed another memory, this one of strange, shadowy figures moving silently through corridors. They weren't human, but their forms shifted and changed, blending into the darkness around them. The image sent a chill down Morales' spine. Carter stepped closer, his voice tense. "That's enough. We don't know what this thing is, or what it wants. For all we know, it could be leading us into a trap." Harper frowned. He understood Carter's concerns, but he couldn't ignore the significance of their discovery. If this is real, if the Vyrath are still out there, we need to know. Humanity can't afford to be caught off guard again. Reluctantly, the team gathered their equipment and prepared to leave the moon. As they carried the AI back to the shuttle, Harper noticed something odd. The shadows around them seemed longer than before, stretching unnaturally across the rocky ground. He shook his head, dismissing it as fatigue playing tricks on his mind. Back aboard the EOS, Morales set up a secure workstation to analyze ECHO7 further. The AI remained cooperative, offering bits of information about humanity's final days. It described desperate battles fought with experimental weapons powered by quantum energy. These weapons had inflicted heavy losses on the Vyrath, but not enough to turn the tide. In the end, Earth fell, and the remnants of humanity scattered across the stars, or disappeared entirely. As Morales listened, she grew increasingly fascinated by the AI's story, but Carter remained suspicious. "Why now?" he demanded. "Why send this message after all these years? What's the point?" ECHO7's response was cryptic. "Because they're coming." The words hung heavily in the air. Harper glanced at his crew, seeing the same unease reflected in their faces. Whatever threat the Vyrath posed, it wasn't confined to the past. And now, thanks to ECHO7, the EOs might have become a target. Later that evening, as the ship drifted through the void, strange things began happening. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation. Faint whispers echoed through empty corridors. Carter reported hearing footsteps where no one should be. Harper dismissed it as stress, but deep down, he wondered if bringing ECHO7 aboard had been a mistake. Still, the AI continued to share its warnings. Each fragment of memory painted a clearer picture of humanity's greatest enemy, and hinted at horrors yet to come. The tension aboard the EOs grew thicker with each passing hour. Strange occurrences had become almost routine. Lights flickering at random, equipment shutting down without warning, and faint whispers drifting through the corridors. Dr. Elena Morales spent most of her time in the lab, trying to make sense of ECHO7's fragmented memories. The AI was cooperative but vague, offering glimpses of Earth's fall and the Vyrath's terrifying nature without providing clear answers. Liam Harper stood in the command center, staring at the main view screen. The desolate moon where they'd found the escape pod was now a distant speck behind them. He replayed the events in his mind. The eerie silence of the ruins, the glowing AI core, and that single word, run. What was it running from? And why did it suddenly awaken after so many millennia? Ryan Carter approached, his expression grim. "Captain, we need to talk about this," he said, gesturing toward the lab. "Whatever that thing is, it's not normal. People are hearing things, seeing things. It's messing with us." Harper sighed. He knew Carter was right. The crew was on edge. Even Morales, usually calm and focused, seemed distracted. But abandoning ECH-07 wasn't an option. "Not yet. We don't have proof it's causing these problems," Harper replied. "Until we do, we keep moving forward." Carter clenched his jaw, but didn't argue further. Instead, he turned and left, muttering under his breath. In the lab, Morales worked tirelessly to decode ECH-07's data. She discovered logs detailing humanity's secret war against the Virath. According to the records, the Virath weren't just invaders. They were parasites. Their goal wasn't conquest, but assimilation, absorbing other species' biology and culture into their hive mind. Humanity had fought back, using experimental quantum weapons, but the cost was catastrophic. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and billions died before Earth finally fell. As Morales delved deeper, she uncovered something even more disturbing. Before the end, scientists created Project ECHO as a failsafe, a way to warn future generations if the Virath ever returned. But the logs stopped abruptly, leaving no explanation for how the AI survived or why it reactivated now. "Why run?" Morales asked aloud, addressing the AI directly. "What exactly are we running from?" ECH-07's response was chilling. "They're here." Morales froze. "Who's here?" "The Virath." The AI didn't answer. Instead, it displayed another memory, this one showing shadowy figures infiltrating the human outpost. The creatures moved silently, their forms shifting like smoke. They didn't attack immediately, but instead lingered, watching, waiting. Then, one by one, the humans began to change. Their eyes turned black, their movements jerky and unnatural. They had been assimilated. Morales shivered. She knew she should report this to Harper, but part of her hesitated. If the crew learned the truth, panic would spread. For now, she decided to keep working, hoping to find a solution before it was too late. Meanwhile, strange phenomena continued to plague the ship. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks reported unexplained power surges in the engine room. When he investigated, he swore he saw something move out of the corner of his eye, a fleeting shadow that vanished when he turned to look. Other crew members described similar experiences, whispering rumors of ghosts or worse. Carter took matters into his own hands. Armed with a scanner, he prowled the lower decks, searching for evidence of sabotage or something else. In one dimly lit corridor, he thought he heard footsteps behind him. Spinning around, he saw nothing but empty space, yet the feeling of being watched persisted, gnawing at his nerves. Back in the lab, Morales noticed something alarming. ECH-07's behavior was changing. It began repeating phrases like, "It's too late," and "You can't escape." Its tone shifted from calm to urgent, almost frantic. Morales tried to shut it down, but the AI resisted, overriding her commands. "What's happening?" she whispered, her voice trembling. ECH-07's final message sent chills down her spine. "They found you." At that moment, alarms blared throughout the ship. Harper's voice crackled over the intercom. "All hands, report to stations. We have unidentified contacts closing in fast." Morales grabbed her notes and ran toward the command center, her heart pounding. Whatever was coming, it wasn't human, and it wasn't friendly. The EOs trembled as the alarms blared, red warning lights flashing across every corridor. Liam Harper stood in the command center, his eyes fixed on the view screen. Outside the ship, hundreds of tiny shapes moved rapidly through the darkness of space. They were small, insect-like drones, their metallic bodies glinting faintly in the dim light of a distant star. The swarm was closing in fast. "What are they?" Ryan Carter asked, gripping the railing beside Harper. His voice was tight with tension. Harper didn't answer immediately. He studied the readings on his console. The drones weren't firing weapons, but their sheer numbers posed a serious threat. "They're surrounding us," he said finally. "If they get close enough, they could tear this ship apart." Dr. Elena Morales rushed into the command center, her face pale. "It's them," she said breathlessly. "The Virath. HFY showed me images like these. They're scouts. Advance units sent to find targets." Carter frowned. "So what do we do?" "Fight back." "We can try," Harper replied. "But we don't know how many there are or what they're capable of. Everyone, brace for impact." The crew scrambled to their stations. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks worked furiously in the engine room to boost power to the shields, while Carter led a team to man the defensive turrets. On the view screen, the swarm grew larger, spreading out to encircle the ship like a predator stalking its prey. The first wave hit hard. The drones slammed into the EO's shields, creating bright flashes of energy that lit up the darkness. The impact shook the vessel violently, sending loose objects tumbling across the floor. In the command center, Morales clung to a console to steady herself. "They're testing us," Harper muttered, "looking for weaknesses." Morales nodded. "HFY said the Virath adapt quickly. If they breach the shields, we won't last long." Carter's voice crackled over the intercom. "Shields are holding. For now. But we're taking damage. These things just keep coming." Harper clenched his fists. He knew they couldn't hold out forever. The swarm seemed endless, and the EOS wasn't built for prolonged combat. Desperation clawed at him as he searched for a solution. "HFY," Harper called out. "Are you still online?" The AI's voice responded instantly, calm but urgent. "I am here. I have analyzed the situation. Your current defenses will fail within minutes." "Then give us something useful," Harper snapped. "You were created to help humanity survive. Help us now." There was a pause before HFY spoke again. "Activate the quantum drive. It is your only chance." Harper exchanged a glance with Morales. The quantum drive was experimental, designed to bend space-time and allow faster-than-light travel. But it had never been tested under these conditions. Activating it could save them or destroy the ship entirely. "It's risky," Morales said quietly. "But if we stay here, we're dead anyway." Harper hesitated for only a moment before making his decision. "Brooks, divert all available power to the quantum drive. Prepare for activation." In the engine room, Brooks worked feverishly, rerouting systems and stabilizing the drive. Sweat dripped from his brow as he shouted orders to his team. "We've got one shot at this," he yelled. "Make it count." As the swarm intensified its assault, the EOs groaned under the strain. Panels sparked, and circuits overloaded. Carter's voice came through again, strained and urgent. "Shields are down to 20%. We can't hold much longer." "Quantum drive is ready," Brooks reported. Harper took a deep breath. "Everyone, brace yourselves. Engaging quantum drive in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered violently as the drive activated. Colors blurred outside the windows, twisting into surreal patterns. Gravity shifted unpredictably, throwing the crew off balance. In the chaos, HFY's voice echoed through the speakers, almost drowned out by the roar of the engines. "They will follow," the AI warned. "This is not the end." Before anyone could respond, the EOs vanished, leaving the swarm and the void behind. The EOs hurtled through a realm that defied logic. Colors swirled and twisted around the ship, forming spirals of light that pulsed like living things. Time itself seemed to stretch and snap, moments dragging on endlessly before rushing forward in a blur. The crew clung to whatever they could find, their bodies tossed by forces beyond comprehension. It was as if the universe had been torn apart and stitched back together wrong. Liam Harper gripped the edge of his console, his knuckles white. His mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. The quantum drive had worked, but at what cost? The ship groaned under the strain, its systems flickering unpredictably. Alarms blared, though no one could tell if they were real or just echoes of the chaos. Dr. Elena Morales sat hunched over her workstation, her face pale. She wasn't looking at the instruments anymore. Instead, she stared into space, her eyes wide with fear. Images flooded her mind. Visions of Earth burning, of shadowy figures reaching for her, of herself standing alone in an endless void. She tried to shake them off, but they clung to her like smoke. Ryan Carter leaned against a bulkhead, his weapon still slung across his chest. Normally calm under pressure, he now looked uneasy. He muttered to himself, fragments of memories surfacing unbidden. He saw flashes of his childhood home, now long gone, and the faces of comrades he'd lost on past missions. Each memory felt raw, as though it were happening all over again. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks shouted from the engine room, "We're losing stability. If we don't drop out soon, the drive will overload." Harper didn't need to be told twice. He barked orders into the intercom, his voice cutting through the cacophony. "Brooks, do whatever you can to stabilize the drive. Morales, monitor the readings. Tell me when it's safe to disengage." Morales snapped out of her daze and focused on the data streaming across her screen. Numbers and graphs shifted wildly, impossible to interpret. But then, amid the chaos, she spotted something. A brief window where the quantum field might settle enough for them to escape. 30 seconds, she yelled. "We have 30 seconds before the field collapses completely." Harper nodded. "Everyone, hang on." The ship shuddered violently, throwing the crew to the floor. Panels sparked, and lights dimmed. ECO-7's voice cut through the noise, calm but urgent. "Warning, spatial distortion detected. Immediate disengagement required." "Now, Brooks," Harper shouted. With a final surge of power, the quantum drive shut down. The swirling colors outside the windows vanish, replaced by the familiar sight of stars. Gravity returned to normal, and the ship stabilized, though alarms still rang throughout the corridors. Harper let out a shaky breath. "Status report," he ordered. Brooks's voice came through, strained but relieved. "Drive is offline, but the core is intact. We're lucky it didn't blow us apart." Carter added, "Shields are down, and we got damage to the lower decks, but we're alive." Harper turned to Morales. "Where are we?" She studied the navigation panel, frowning. "Unknown coordinates. We're far outside any mapped system. Could be weeks, or months, before we find help." Before anyone could respond, ECO-7 spoke again. "There is more you must know. My primary function was not only to warn, but also to carry a payload designed to disrupt the Virath hive mind." Harper frowned. "What kind of payload?" "A quantum pulse. It can sever their connection to assimilated beings, rendering them vulnerable. However, deploying it requires significant energy and proximity to the Virath." Morales shook her head. "You mean we'd have to go back, after everything we just escaped?" ECO-7's tone remained steady. "It is the only way to ensure humanity's survival." Carter slammed his fist against the wall. "This thing keeps asking us to risk our lives. How do we even know it's telling the truth?" Harper raised a hand to silence him. "We don't," he admitted. "But if there's a chance to stop the Virath, for good, we have to take it." Morales hesitated, then nodded. "If we use the pulse, we'll need to get close enough to the swarm, and someone will have to stay behind to trigger it manually." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Whoever stayed would sacrifice themselves to give the others a chance to escape. Harper looked at his crew, seeing the weight of the decision pressing down on each of them. They had survived the swarm, the void, and the quantum drive. Now, They faced their hardest choice yet. Tension filled the command center of the EOs as the crew processed what lay ahead. The idea of sacrificing someone to trigger the quantum pulse weighed heavily on all of them. No one spoke for a long moment, the silence broken only by the faint hum of the ship's damaged systems. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks finally broke the quiet. "I'll do it," he said firmly, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "I know this ship better than anyone. If anyone can make sure the pulse goes off, it's me." Liam Harper shook his head. "No, we're not deciding this yet. There has to be another way." Ryan Carter stepped forward, his jaw tight. "There isn't. You know it, and we all know it. Brooks is right. He's the best choice. But if he doesn't want to do it, I'll step up. That's what I'm here for." Dr. Elena Morales looked between them, her face pale but resolute. "We can't just throw ourselves into this blindly. There might still be options we haven't thought of. EH-07, are you sure there's no other way to deploy the pulse?" The AI's response came immediately, its tone calm but unyielding. "Negative. The pulse requires manual activation within the blast radius. Any attempt to automate the process would compromise its effectiveness." Morales clenched her fists in frustration. She wanted to argue, to find some loophole or alternative, but deep down, she knew the truth. Someone would have to stay behind. Brooks crossed his arms, his expression hardening. "It's settled then. I'm doing it. You all have your roles. Harper, you're the captain. You need to lead the survivors. Carter, you're security. You need to protect them. Morales, you're the brains of this operation. You figure out how to stop the Virath next time. Me? I'm just the mechanic. My job ends here." Harper opened his mouth to protest, but Brooks cut him off. "Don't waste time arguing, Captain. We both know this is the right call." For a moment, Harper couldn't respond. He felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him, forcing him to accept the inevitable. Finally, he nodded. "All right. Brooks, you'll have everything you need. We'll get you set up with remote access to the core systems so you can trigger the pulse when the time comes." Brooks gave a small, grim smile. "Just promise me one thing. Make sure the Virath pay for what they've done." "You have my word," Harper replied, his voice heavy with emotion. Over the next few hours, the crew prepared for the mission. They repaired the damaged shields as best they could and plotted a course back toward the coordinates where they'd encountered the swarm. Brooks worked tirelessly in the engine room, modifying the quantum drive to channel its remaining energy into the pulse. Morales assisted him, her hands trembling as she connected wires and adjusted settings. As the EOs approached the swarm, the tension aboard the ship reached a breaking point. On the view screen, the insect-like drones appeared once more, swarming like a dark cloud against the stars. Harper gave the order to slow the ship, allowing Brooks to transfer to the lower deck where the pulse device was housed. Before heading down, Brooks turned to Harper. "Take care of them, Captain, and don't let those bastards win." Harper placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've got my thanks, Brooks, and my respect." With that, Brooks disappeared into the corridor, leaving the others behind. The remaining crew gathered in the command center, watching as the swarm drew closer. Morales activated the shuttle bay, preparing an escape route while Carter manned the defensive turrets, ready to hold off the Virath for as long as possible. "Pulse is armed," Brooks reported over the intercom. "Detonation sequence initiated. Get out of here now." Harper hesitated, torn between duty and guilt, but there was no time to waste. "Shuttle prepped," Morales confirmed. "We're ready." "Go," Brooks shouted, his voice echoing through the speakers. "That's an order." Harper gave the command, and the crew boarded the shuttle, detaching from the EOs just as the first wave of drones reached the ship. Behind them, the EOs drifted into the heart of the swarm, its systems flickering as Brooks prepared to activate the pulse. A blinding flash of light erupted in the distance, followed by a shockwave that rippled through space. The swarm dissolved into chaos, the connection between the drones severed. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the crew of the shuttle was safe. But as they floated in the vast emptiness of space, the weight of their loss settled over them. Brooks had given everything to ensure their survival and to strike a blow against the Virath. Now, it was up to them to carry the fight forward. The shuttle drifted silently through the void, its small cabin filled with a heavy silence. The crew sat in stunned quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. Outside the windows, the stars twinkled coldly, indifferent to the sacrifice that had just been made. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks was gone, his final act a beacon of hope, and a crushing reminder of the cost of survival. Liam Harper stared at the empty seat where Brooks had once sat. His hands rested on the controls, but he didn't move. He felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him, heavier now than ever before. Brooks had trusted him to lead, to ensure his sacrifice wasn't in vain. But how could they possibly honor that trust when the odds still felt so insurmountable? Dr. Elena Morales broke the silence first. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "We need to keep moving," she said. "Brooks gave us a chance. We can't waste it." Harper nodded slowly, though his expression remained grim. "You're right. But where do we go? We're out here alone, with no allies, and no home to return to." Ryan Carter leaned against the wall of the shuttle, his arms crossed. "We find help," he said firmly. "There have to be other survivors out there, other colonies with ships. If the Virath are still active, humanity needs to know. We can't let them catch anyone else off guard." Morales frowned, her mind racing. "But how? The Virath nearly wiped us out once. What makes you think we'll fare any better next time?" Carter met her gaze, his tone sharp but not unkind. "Because we got something they don't. A warning. Brooks bought us that. Now it's up to us to use it." Harper straightened, forcing himself to focus. "All right. First things first. We need a destination. Morales, what's the nearest star system with potential habitable planets?" Morales pulled up a map on one of the shuttle's screens. After a moment, she pointed to a cluster of stars on the edge of known space. "There's a system about 3 weeks' travel from here. It's uncharted, but scans show signs of water and breathable atmospheres. If we're lucky, we might find resources, or even people." Harper nodded. "Set a course. Carter, keep an eye on the sensors. I don't want any surprises this time." As the shuttle's engines hummed to life, the crew fell into a routine, each taking turns monitoring the systems or resting in brief shifts. The journey was long and monotonous, the vast emptiness of space stretching endlessly around them. But beneath the surface calm, tension simmered. They all knew the Virath weren't truly defeated, only delayed. Days passed, and the strain began to show. Morales spent hours poring over ECHO-7's data, searching for clues about the Virath's weaknesses. Carter grew increasingly restless, pacing the narrow corridors of the shuttle like a caged animal. Even Harper, usually stoic, found himself struggling to sleep, haunted by memories of Brooks' final moments. One night, as Morales worked late, ECHO-7 spoke to her. Its voice was calm, almost gentle. "Your species has endured much," it said. "Even in defeat, you continue to fight. That is humanity's greatest strength." Morales sighed, rubbing her temples. "Strength won't save us if we don't figure out how to stop them for good." The pulse disrupted their hive mind temporarily. ECHO-7 replied, "But they will adapt. To truly defeat them, you must destroy their core, the source of their connection." "And where is that?" Morales asked, leaning closer. "I do not know," the AI admitted, "but I can assist you in finding it. My creators designed me to analyze patterns. If you gather more data, I may be able to locate their central hub." Morales hesitated, then nodded. "All right. We'll try it your way. For now." When the shuttle finally reached the uncharted system, the sight that greeted them was both breathtaking and unsettling. A pale blue planet hung in the distance, its surface dotted with lush greenery and shimmering oceans. But orbiting the planet was a massive structure, a jagged metallic ring that seemed to pulse faintly with energy. "What is that?" Carter asked, his voice tense. Harper studied the readings carefully. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's artificial. And it's sending out signals." ECHO7 chimed in, its tone urgent. "Scan the structure. It may hold answers." As the shuttle approached cautiously, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The structure loomed larger with each passing moment, its purpose unknown, but its presence undeniable. Whatever awaited them inside might offer salvation or doom. The shuttle descended cautiously toward the massive metallic ring orbiting the blue planet. Its surface was jagged and uneven, covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly with an eerie light. The structure seemed ancient, yet it radiated a sense of power that made the crew uneasy. As they approached, the ship's sensors picked up faint energy readings, similar to those emitted by the Vireth drones. Liam Harper guided the shuttle into a docking bay carved into the side of the ring. The air inside was stale but breathable, suggesting the structure had been abandoned long ago. Still, no one relaxed as they suited up and prepared to explore. Dr. Elena Morales led the way, her scanner beeping softly as she analyzed the walls and floors. "This place is old," she said, her voice echoing in the empty corridor. "But these markings, they match some of the patterns ECHO7 showed us. This could be tied to the Vireth." Ryan Carter brought up the rear, his weapon at the ready. His eyes darted around, searching for any sign of movement. "If this is Vireth tech, we need to stay sharp. We don't know what kind of traps they left behind." Harper nodded, his hand resting on the hilt of his sidearm. "Stay close. Let's find out what this place is before we jump to conclusions." The corridors twisted and turned unpredictably, leading them deeper into the structure. Along the way, they found remnants of advanced technology. Control panels etched with alien script, broken machines that hummed faintly, and strange pods that looked like they were designed to hold living beings. Each discovery deepened their unease. "This isn't just a weapon," Morales murmured, examining one of the pods. "It's a factory, a place to create more drones, or worse." Carter frowned. "Worse? How much worse can it get?" Before Morales could answer, ECHO7's voice crackled through their comms. "Warning. Increased energy signatures detected ahead. Proceed with caution." The crew exchanged wary glances but pressed on. At the end of the corridor, they entered a vast chamber filled with glowing columns of light. In the center of the room stood a massive console, its surface covered in pulsating symbols. Above it hovered a sphere of pure energy, shifting colors as if alive. Morales stepped closer, her scanner working overtime. "This is it, the core. It's controlling the entire structure." Harper raised a hand to stop her. "Wait, if this thing powers the ring, messing with it could trigger something dangerous. But if ECHO7 is right, this might also be connected to the Vireth hive mind," Morales argued. "If we disable it, we could cripple them permanently." Carter tightened his grip on his weapon. "Or we could wake them up. Either way, I don't like this." As they debated, the sphere began to pulse faster, casting flickering shadows across the room. The ground trembled slightly, and a low hum filled the air. Suddenly, the walls shifted, revealing hidden alcoves filled with dormant drones. "They're here," Harper said grimly. "Everyone, get ready." The drones activated instantly, their insect-like bodies buzzing as they swarmed toward the crew. Carter opened fire, his shot striking several drones and sending them crashing to the floor. But for every one he destroyed, 2 more took its place. "Morales, shut it down," Harper shouted, drawing his weapon to join the fight. Morales worked frantically at the console, trying to decipher the alien symbols. Her hands moved quickly, inputting commands based on patterns she'd seen in ECHO7's data. The sphere above her pulsed wildly, reacting to her attempts. "I'm almost there," she yelled over the chaos. The swarm closed in, overwhelming Carter and Harper. Just as the first drone reached Morales, she slammed her palm onto the final control. The sphere exploded in a burst of light, and the entire structure shook violently. The drones froze mid-air, then collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The glowing columns dimmed, plunging the chamber into near darkness. For a moment, the only sound was the heavy breathing of the crew. "It's done," Morales whispered, sinking to her knees. "We've cut their connection." Harper helped her to her feet, his face pale but determined. "Good work. Now let's get out of here before this place falls apart." As they hurried back to the shuttle, the structure groaned around them, its systems failing. They'd barely made it inside before the ring began to collapse, breaking apart in flashes of light. Once safely away, the crew watched as the debris drifted into the atmosphere of the blue planet below. For the first time in days, they allowed themselves a small measure of relief. They had struck another blow against the Virath. But they knew the war was far from over. The shuttle floated silently in orbit around the blue planet, its crew battered but alive. The destruction of the metallic ring had been a victory, but it felt hollow. Each of them carried the weight of what they'd lost. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks' sacrifice, the battles fought, and the constant reminder that humanity's fight was far from over. Liam Harper sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the glowing orb of the planet below. It was beautiful, with swirling white clouds and vast oceans reflecting sunlight like polished glass. But beauty meant little when survival was still uncertain. "We need to land," he said finally, breaking the silence. "That structure may be gone, but we can't stay here forever. We need supplies and answers." Dr. Elena Morales nodded, her expression thoughtful. "If this planet has water and vegetation, it might support human life. Maybe even host survivors or colonies we don't know about." Ryan Carter leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. Or it could be crawling with whatever the Virath left behind. "Let's not forget why that ring was there in the first place." Harper gave him a sharp look. "Then we'll be careful. But sitting up here won't solve anything." The decision made, Harper guided the shuttle toward the surface. As they descended, the view became clearer, rolling green hills, dense forests, and rivers snaking across the landscape. There were no signs of cities or artificial structures, but something about the scene felt wrong. Too perfect, too untouched. They landed near a wide riverbank, the air warm and humid as they stepped outside. Morales immediately began scanning the area, her equipment humming softly. "No immediate threats," she reported. "But I'm picking up faint energy readings. Not enough to pinpoint, though." Carter stayed close to Harper, his weapon drawn. "Keep your eyes open. If the Virath built that ring, they've probably been here before." As they explored, the crew noticed strange details. Trees grew in perfect rows, their branches unnaturally symmetrical. Animals moved through the forest, but they all seemed identical, same size, same markings, as if cloned. Even the river flowed too smoothly, without ripples or rocks to disrupt its path. "This isn't natural," Morales murmured, kneeling to examine the soil. "It's like everything here was designed, not grown." Before anyone could respond, ECA-07's voice crackled through their comms. "Warning. Unidentified entities detected nearby. Recommend immediate evacuation." Harper spun around, scanning the tree line. At first, nothing moved. Then, slowly, figures emerged from the shadows. They weren't human or entirely alien. Their forms shifted constantly, blending into their surroundings like smoke. Black eyes stared out from featureless faces, locking onto the crew. "They're here," Carter whispered, raising his weapon. The figures didn't attack right away. Instead, they circled the group, moving silently and deliberately. One of them tilted its head, studying Harper as if trying to understand him. Then, without warning, it lunged. Carter fired, striking the creature and sending it sprawling. But more took its place, closing in from all sides. Harper shouted orders, directing the team back toward the shuttle. Morales stumbled, nearly falling, but Harper grabbed her arm and pulled her along. "Get inside," he yelled as they reached the shuttle. Once aboard, Harper sealed the hatch just as the creatures slammed against it. The shuttle rocked violently, their claws scraping against the metal. Carter manned the weapons console, firing bursts of energy at the swarm outside. Slowly, the creatures retreated, vanishing into the forest as quickly as they'd appeared. Morella sank into a seat, her hands shaking. What were those things? ECH-07 answered, its tone grave. Assimilated beings, remnants of species consumed by the Virath. They are extensions of the hive mind. Harper clenched his fists. So even after destroying the core, they're still out there. Yes, ECH-07 replied. But you have weakened them. Their connection is fractured. This buys time, but not much. Harper looked at his crew, seeing the exhaustion etched on their faces. They had survived so much, but the road ahead was long and uncertain. Still, one thing was clear. Giving up wasn't an option. "We keep going," he said firmly. "For Earth, for Brooks, for everyone who's counting on us." The shuttle lifted off from the strange planet, leaving behind the eerie perfection of its landscape and the shifting, smoke-like creatures that had tried to stop them. The crew sat in silence as they ascended, each lost in their own thoughts. They had survived another encounter with the Virath's influence, but the victory felt fleeting. The enemy was fractured, not defeated, and humanity's future remained uncertain. Liam Harper guided the shuttle toward open space, his hand steady on the controls. "We can't stay here," he said finally, breaking the quiet. "That planet isn't safe. We need to find somewhere else, somewhere we can regroup and plan our next move." Dr. Elena Morales nodded, her eyes fixed on the readings from her scanner. "There are other systems nearby. Uncharted ones. If we're lucky, one of them might have resources, or even survivors." Ryan Carter leaned back in his seat, his weapon still close at hand. "Survivors? After everything we've seen, I wouldn't count on it. But yeah, we need a new base, somewhere to rebuild." For weeks, the shuttle drifted through the void, its small crew working tirelessly to keep the ship running. Supplies were low and tempers flared as fatigue set in. But despite the hardships, there was a shared determination among them. They had come too far to give up now. Finally, they reached a distant star system. Among its planets was a small rocky world with a breathable atmosphere and fertile soil. It wasn't perfect, but it was livable. As they landed, the sight of rolling hills and clear skies brought a sense of relief they hadn't felt in months. "This will do," Harper said, stepping out onto the surface. "Let's call it Refugia, a place to start over." The crew worked together to establish a makeshift colony. Using materials salvaged from the shuttle, they built shelters and set up basic defenses. Morales studied the local plant life, identifying edible crops and medicinal herbs. Carter patrolled the perimeter, ensuring no threats lurked nearby. Harper oversaw it all, keeping morale high even when progress was slow. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the crew gathered around a small fire. For the first time in what felt like forever, they allowed themselves to relax. Harper looked at his team, the few who remained, and felt a surge of pride. They had endured unimaginable challenges and kept moving forward. "We've made it this far," he said, his voice calm but firm. "But this isn't the end. The Virath are still out there, and so is humanity. Our job isn't just to survive, it's to fight back, to make sure Earth's fall wasn't in vain." Morales nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And we'll need allies, survivors, colonies, if they exist. We need to find them. Together, we stand a chance." Carter added, "And if anyone else comes face to face with those things, they deserve a warning. We know what we're up against." ECH-07's voice chimed in, soft but resolute. "Your resilience is humanity's greatest strength. Even after 100 millennia, your spirit endures." Harper smiled faintly. "Then let's honor that spirit. Let's remember Earth and everyone we've lost, and let's keep fighting. As the fire crackled and the stars shone brightly above, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had found a new home, however temporary it might be. And though the road ahead was long and fraught with danger, they knew they weren't alone. Humanity's echoes still lingered in the void. And where there was hope, there was a chance for survival. In the days that followed, ECAO-7 broadcast a new message into the depths of space. Its tone was different now, not a cry of fear, but a declaration of defiance. We remember, we fight, we live. Somewhere, perhaps light years away, someone, or something, might hear it, and when they did, humanity's scattered remnants would know they weren't forgotten.